This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
John Lynch was just on KMBR and updated the talks with Brandon Aiyuk and Trent Williams, and he may have confirmed one of the juiciest parts of the Brandon Aiyuk reports, rumors, whatever. Plus, best season-long bets. We got it all for you on today's show. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard podcast on the Fans First Sports Network, sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. I am Rob Stats Guerrera alongside Michelle Majuk. Michelle, guess what we're going to talk about today? Brandon Aiyuk and Trent Williams. Can you believe it?
I'm so shocked. So I asked last week, will we be here next week still talking about Brandon Aiyuk? And we said, gosh, I hope not. Like, please, no. How could this possibly drag another week? And here we are, and we're not any closer. Like, I feel like we don't know anything else than we knew last Friday. But also, I heard your voice crack, and I just wanted to point that out.
Thanks. Sweet.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate that. Going to be 40 in January. Apparently not still done with puberty. So thanks. All right, we're going to get to our best season-long bets for the 49ers in a minute. But John Lynch was literally just on KMBR this morning. And, of course, he was asked about Brandon Aiyuk and Trent Williams. And let me say this before we get into what he said, and I will play the audio for you. The way that the media, particularly KMBR, because Kyle Shanahan was on last night and Lynch was on this morning, the way they tiptoe around and apologize to these guys for having to ask about the biggest stories surrounding the team is pathetic. It is pathetic. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are big boys, okay? They can handle your question about the star wide receiver and the best left tackle in the league currently staying away from practicing. I promise you, they can handle it. You don't have to apologize or say things like, well, we have to ask, or I know you don't like to talk about this, but put on your big boy pants, grow up, and ask the questions. It's amazing how the media kowtows and cowers before these figures on the 49ers.
I mean, they clearly have seen, obviously, these coaches put the media in the doghouse, kind of like Kyle Shanahan does to his players, right? And they don't want to be put there. Clearly, there's something that they've seen in the past that they're like, this can't happen to me because I could lose my job and can't feed my family. So, yeah, I mean, but there is something going on with the media, with the 49ers. You don't see this with other teams. The other teams just ask the questions, and they're not worried about, what's going to happen to them afterwards. It's kind of odd.
Sean Turner says, what's up, Mimosa Michelle and house shoes, Rob? People do not like that I wear my sneakers in the house. But yes, I don't know. And I get it. Like, KMBR is the 49ers flagship, so they're not trying to make the 49ers mad. But again, you're not doing anything wrong by just saying, what's the latest with Brandon Aiyuk? Like, there you go. That's it. You don't have to preface it by apologizing and cowering. It's unbelievable, man. And acting like this is what they do. And I understand it. They don't think that these guys are going to answer the questions, but they know they have to ask it. But because of that, the way they ask it, it's like you're almost giving them permission not to answer the question. And that just drives me. Just literally state your question. Anyway, that's my beef. I hate it. I know the 49ers media doesn't like it when I criticize them. I know Grant got a little prickly with me yesterday. I don't care. Do better. Do better. And I try to do better. When they have the Zoom calls, I go on and I ask questions. So I'm not just all talk. I do everything I can do from Connecticut. But anyway, John Lynch on KMBR. What is the latest with Brandon Aiyuk?
The communication still has been really good, both with Brandon and his agent, and we're trying to figure out solutions. And I'm always hopeful. I'm an optimistic person at nature, and so I'm always hopeful that we'll get there and get there soon. I can tell you we feel the urgency to have him. The season's approaching, and we have ample time. And the good news is Brandon is a really, really hard worker. He's taken great care of himself this offseason. He's in fantastic shape. But there's things you have to do on a football field and, getting yourself in there with our team. So we're working hard, and hopefully there's a resolution soon.
We feel the urgency to have him. Is that a good sign?
Listen, I love how we both were like, do you have ample time?
Yeah.
Like when he said that, like the season is what, 20 days away?
Less than a month away. Yeah. I mean, the second preseason game is Sunday, for God's sake. The third preseason game is a joke. So, whatever. But do you have ample time? I don't know. To get him in before week 1, yeah. But how good will he be?
And also, we've seen this now drag out for how long? I mean, what's going to change where it comes together that quickly? I don't know. This is taking forever.
They did ask him what's taking so long, and he said, "I don't know." It's like, hello,
and that is
no problem, John. It's you. You haven't offered enough money. That's what's taking so long. But anyway, all right. That's John Lynch on Brandon Aiyuk. John, what about Trent Williams?
We're working hard on that as well, and hopefully Trent's back here soon enough to get back out here with the guys. I know he wants to. I know we want that, and hopefully we got good news on both fronts in the near future.
So I thought that was interesting because he didn't say hopefully we get a resolution with Brandon Aiyuk. He said good news on both fronts, which to me would imply that both are back with the 49ers.
This Trent Williams thing as well. This seems like it should have been very, very easy to fix. I did listen to the show yesterday, and it did seem like Levin may explain why maybe it's a little bit harder, but I think I'm with you. Just tear up that contract and start over. That might be the best way to go around this.
Yeah, Rick. I don't think Trent Williams cares. Obviously, he doesn't want to tear up the old contract and then accept a worse one. So, there's part of that. But I just feel like if you tear up the contract, you cannot tell me that there is no way to work out paying Trent Williams what he wants to be paid while also, not completely wrecking things for the 49ers. There has to be a way.
I do think I don't know if he would possibly sit out that. I'd be more worried about Aiyuk sitting out. I mean, Trent Williams is getting up in that age. He doesn't have many seasons left, right? So, if he's worried about money and making all the money that he possibly can to, just make sure that his family and his kids and his kids' kids and his kids' kids are set, you're not going to sit out and waste one of your few years left and not make that money. So I'm not worried about him sitting out. These veterans love to not have training camp, right? And I don't think Trent Williams is a guy that needs a training camp. I really don't. So if they have an excuse not to play during training camp, it could be like the Chris Jones thing. Chris Jones had to hit an incentive. I guess I don't know how you do incentives for tackles. You can it was easy for him. He had to hit a sack total. But yeah, maybe they just give him some incentives or something.
I think with Trent, the worry is not, he wants to sit out. The worry is he'll just retire. I think he's I've got enough money. If I don't get exactly what I want, I'm not doing this again. I think that is what you worry about with Trent Williams, because I do think he has the leverage there because one, they really need him. And two, he could just be all right, you know what? How about I not put my body through a bazillion car crashes for 20 weeks? And instead I just spend my millions of dollars and go on living my life. That's a pretty good alternative.
I think it's really, really hard for these guys that have been playing football their whole life to retire like that. I don't think they retire until they're fully ready mentally. I don't think he could just flip the switch like that. Be no, never mind. I can't see Trent Williams just retiring without fully being ready mentally.
Maybe, but don't forget, this is a guy that had a legitimate near-death cancer scare. He's, I think his perspective is maybe a little different than the average guy because literally, he thought he was going to die because they misdiagnosed the tumor that was growing on his head. So, he might be a little more apt to make that switch than just, regular average NFL player. I don't know. That's totally me projecting. You could be 1,000% right. I'm just trying to think through the possibilities. One more from Lynch. This was interesting because there were unconfirmed reports. I know Ryan Hensley said, other people said that when Brandon Aiyuk met with John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, and things got heated, that they were shouting at each other, that they were face to face. And that was never reported by anybody like a national insider or a local reporter. It was just kind of like the content creators that were hearing certain things. Well, John Lynch was asked, is there any bad blood between the 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk?
No, there's not bad blood. I mean, negotiations can get heated. I think it's his first time going through that, but no bad blood. I mean, if people that are here see Brandon out here, there's love, a lot of love and respect for the relationship we've had and continue to have, and hopefully we'll have into the future.
So it got heated. Now, maybe he just means Brandon Aiyuk took a lot of things personally, which is something that Aiyuk is on the record as saying, or maybe he accidentally did kind of confirm the fact that there was some bad blood. And, yeah, you can say Brandon Aiyuk was out there, but he went like 2 weeks without appearing. He appeared on July 31st. Then he didn't appear again till this week. So I don't know. When I heard that, I was like, maybe there's a little truth to that rumor.
Yeah, and I don't think John Lynch is going to admit if there's still bad blood. Like, that's just not something he's going to say out loud. Also, he might not be mad, right? But Brandon Aiyuk, I mean, John Lynch is getting paid what he should be getting paid, right? Probably getting paid way too much than he should be getting paid. So he doesn't have to worry about that. Brandon Aiyuk feels disrespected by his company. John Lynch doesn't. So I'm sure, just because you don't feel bad blood, John Lynch, I'm sure Brandon Aiyuk still does.
I can't believe that nothing has happened one way or the other.
I even though last Friday I sat here and I said, there's no way I think he gets traded anymore. It doesn't seem like it. And then a couple of days after, it's like, okay, it seems like he's definitely going to get traded again. But now I'm at the point where I definitely think he's not getting traded again. It's just a roller coaster. It really is. Of like, one moment you're like, oh, there's no way he gets traded. And the next moment you're like, this is 100% happening. It just goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
It shouldn't be days going by with nothing happening anymore. It should be, hey, Brandon, accept this deal or don't, but we're not changing it anymore. And you're either going to Pittsburgh or you're going to take our deal. Or you could play on the 5th year option if you want. We don't care. But like, we're going to know by the end of today because this situation is going to be over. Like, I can't believe that the 49ers have not done that, which to me just proves they don't want to do that because they don't want to risk the fact that Brandon Aiyuk says, fine, I'm gone. Neither side wants to separate from the other side, yet we still don't have an agreement. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think Aiyuk fully wants to be with the 49ers. I don't think he wants to go to the Steelers. I think he's willing to if it's like the last resort. But I do think he's used the Steelers this entire offseason. Like, I feel used.
Ooh,
I feel very used. After this week, after the last thing that dropped, that's like, oh, they're getting close and like they're getting closer to the numbers. I'm like, he's just been using the Steelers this whole time. That's all it is.
So that's interesting because I have tried to kind of like take the pulse of Steelers fans who are going through this along with us. And while some are still excited, there's a lot of Steeler fans that are like, you know what? Forget it. Like, we're not just going to sit here desperate waiting forever. Like,
I think everyone's pretty much gotten over it. If it happens, cool. We'll be excited. Like, yeah, if it ends up happening, but we can't keep being like at the edge of our seat. At this point, I think we've all come to terms. I'm talking Steelers fans here that he's just been using us, and that's fine. I'm happy for you. I hope you get your money. But I think that's what it comes down to. He knew the Steelers didn't have anything good enough to offer that the 49ers weren't going to accept right away, but they'd still were willing to pay. Like, he didn't want to go anywhere. So, but Cleveland and the Patriots had a good enough trade to trade him away. So he's like, oh, no, I won't go to those places. So the Steelers were a perfect place for him to be able to use. And yeah, he used them real good.
It's interesting because I do think the Steelers look kind of pathetic if you're just waiting and waiting and waiting. Like, if you ask somebody if they want to go on a date with you, if they don't give you an answer within like a day, you can't just sit there and check in every day. How about now? How about now? Like, at some point you got to move on. Like, have a little self-respect, Pittsburgh. It's supposed to be, one of the blue blood kind of franchises in the NFL.
Yeah, it doesn't feel great to be on that side. But if it still ends up happening, I'll be excited as a Steelers fan. Hurt as a 49ers fan. Like, it's a lose-lose for me either way. I don't know.
Brisbee Life on Twitch. Shout out to the Twitch fam. Says this roller coaster should be condemned and torn down. I hate riding it every year. Yeah, John Lynch tried to do the thing where he was like, well, we started the contract talks early. And like, yeah, great. Maybe you did. I'm not denying that. He would certainly know. He would certainly have more knowledge of it than me. But you didn't get it done early. I don't care when you start, John. I care when you finish. And the fact that you haven't finished on August 16th with the season less than a month away, you don't get credit for starting early. We don't care if you started yesterday. If you've solved it today, that's great. Like, the end is what matters, not the beginning.
I also think that none of these teams should be coming in with star players, not figuring out their contract prior to training camp. You have the entire offseason.
Right.
Figure it out. I mean, figure it out before you get into training camp. It is crazy. I mean, it's not just the 49ers, though. You're seeing it with the Cowboys right now. CeeDee Lamb. I mean, what is happening with the CeeDee Lamb stuff. I feel like that one's so easy. He's going to get close to what Justin Jefferson got. Like, that's just what's going to happen. Give it to him or you're going to lose him. And they have nobody else. I mean, imagine being in this situation right now with Aiyuk, but the team doesn't have George Kittle and Deebo Samuel and CMC. Like, if they don't have those players and like Brandon Aiyuk is your only guy, imagine how much stress you would feel right now when we're already feeling stress, even though they have all these other all pros. Like, imagine Cowboys fans with CeeDee Lamb. You take him away, who's on that offense? Yeah. Jake Ferguson is your top target. That's brutal.
It's literally your three most important people, but good. I like when other NFC teams do stupid stuff. Corey Soto says, I still can't fathom being a fan of two football teams simultaneously. It's kind of taking you to task a little bit, Michelle.
It's a great time. You get double the fun. I mean, you get two teams to root for, two teams to cry for. Especially when one of the teams kind of sucks. It's really nice to have a team here that is really, really good and makes you happy.
So before we get to the season totals, if a trade went through Aiyuk to the Steelers, would you be more happy that you now have Brandon Aiyuk on the Steelers, or would you be more upset that Brandon Aiyuk was no longer on the 49ers? Because I think the answer to that question tells us where your fandom truly lies.
I think I'd be really, really pumped if he got traded to the Steelers.
Okay. All right. So you're still...
There'd be a little pit in my stomach thinking about like, how will this affect Brock Purdy? Because, you know, I feel like I'm the biggest Brock Purdy fan out there, and how this could affect. But I still think the 49ers are a strong Super Bowl contender, even without Brandon Aiyuk.
Dale says the Niners did try to get this done a long time ago, yet you still say they didn't. I just said they did. So I don't know if you misheard me. It was a low ball, but then they were told not to approach again. Well, then you screwed up. And that's part of this too, right? It's taken so long because there's like this whole like rule in negotiations, right? Well, you never start with your best offer. You always start with an offer that you know the other side is not going to accept, which is so asinine because you know you're going to make an offer that they're not going to accept. And then they're going to respond with an offer that they know that you're not going to accept. And it's like, this is so stupid. Why are we playing this game? How about we just come with our best offer right off the bat? It's crazy, but that is part of the reason why this whole thing takes so long.
But also, like, if they're like, okay, if they just said, we messed up, we lowballed, here is the offer to offer you market value. I don't think Aiyuk would have been like, no, you lowballed me first. Like, if they offered the $30 million a year that Amon-Ra St. Brown was getting, he wouldn't be like, I remember that low offer and I'm not taking this. Like, they just haven't come up to what he wants yet. If they would come up to what he wants, he wouldn't have brought up the first contract. He would have just accepted.
So you own a house. I own a house. There is a negotiation when you go to buy a house. And there is that worry, right? Like, you know, you're going to offer low first, but you can't go low enough to tick them off where they just say, forget you, we're not going to negotiate. There is that fine line of, all right, everybody knows you're going to make a low offer, but you can't go too low because then they might just say, forget it, we're not going to talk to you at all. And that did happen. Well, I don't know if it happened with you, but for us, it absolutely happened. I'm frugal with money. So, you know, I was like, hey, let's make a really low offer and who knows, let's go from there. And one of the people were like, no, and we don't want to hear a counter offer from you. So we
bought houses at very different times because I was buying it when everyone was trying to buy a house. So you had to offer like over if you wanted to be accepted. But we got really lucky with this house. We offered asking costs and we somehow got it.
Speaking of the housing market, by the way, I just want to say this quickly because I know there's a lot of people that think Brandon Aiyuk did something wrong because the Niners offered around 26 and he kind of liked that offer. And then when the market changed, he asked for more money. And a lot of people think he did something wrong. The housing market is a perfect example of that. You literally can go look at a house. Let's say it's $1 million one day. The next week, you can go back and look at the same house and it could be $1.5 million. It could be $2 million. It could be $2.5 million. The market changes and it changes the price, even though that house, the actual structure of the house, it's exactly the same. It's the same square footage, has the same number of bathrooms, all that stuff. But when the market changes, the value and the price of things change. So even if Brandon Aiyuk did like a $26 million offer at first, once the market changes, it's completely logical that he would want more money from the 49ers.
And now where he's sitting right now, maybe he wanted $30 million a year, right? But now that he's sitting here for this long, he's realizing, oh, shoot, I'm not going to get it. Maybe I have to come down a little bit. That's also like the housing market, right? Once your house is on the housing market for so long and you think it should go for a certain price, but you're not able to get it, sooner or later, you're willing to sell for less, right? So maybe at this point, with the season coming along, I still don't think he's not going to accept 26 million. It's not going to happen. He'll get traded before then. But it does sound like maybe he's open to $28 million a year, which is below what he deserves. It's below market right now for wide receivers. So if they can get him at $28 million a year, I think the 49ers won the negotiation. I mean, they caused a headache throughout it, but at the end of the day, they save a couple $1 million a year.
Dale, who apparently seems to act like he has inside knowledge of the negotiation, says Brandon Aiyuk's camp told them we're not going to talk till the market is settled when JJ gets his contract. Great. JJ got his contract a long time ago. I don't know if that's true or not, but even if that's what they told him, again, there was no reason not to.
Like over a month ago.
Right. So none of it makes sense. And if it was just about money, he would have taken the money from the Pats too. So clearly money is not the only thing. So anyway, I don't know. It's so funny. Like there are trip aces in the comments. Average per year is not the issue. It's guaranteed. They never talk about that. There are so many people that are acting like they have inside knowledge of this. And maybe they do. Maybe those people do. I have no idea. But it's just hilarious to me that I feel like with this Aiyuk thing more than any other I can remember, Michelle, even other 49ers negotiations, everybody is acting like they know something. And I don't know how or why.
Every single account on Twitter is trying to be the first one to like report what's happening. And I think for a while here, it seems so close to getting done. So people were just throwing it out there like, ooh, I could hit right here. Like it's going to happen. So I'm going to say the first one. So they kept doing that. And then it never ended up happening. Now everyone just looks stupid. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, stats. It seems like the latest report was that I don't know if this was accurate either, but it did come. I feel like it came from a national person. I really should have looked at the name, but it's really coming down to the years at this point. Like it seems like they're kind of agreed to the 28 million or around there, and it's up to 4 or 5 years. I'm wondering which side. Like, is Aiyuk asking for only 4 years so that he can still be under 30 by the time he hits the free market? Is it the 49ers that wants only 4 years instead of 5? I'd be interested to see which side wanted the longer one compared to the shorter one.
I thought, and I could have this wrong, but I thought the Niners wanted the shorter contract and the BA wanted the extra year of guaranteed money.
Interesting.
So who knows? But everybody needs each other. Everybody wants each other.
And 5 years from now, Ayuk's going to want a new contract anyway. So I would, if I'm him, I want the 4 years. I don't want anything longer than 4 years. Your contract's going to seem way too low at that point. Get the shortest one you can get. Get 3 years.
Like Deebo's deal was a very short 3-year deal. All day, every day, Kim says, thank you for the super chat, by the way. If Brock is elite like some think he is losing BA shouldn't be nothing more than a minor setback. That is what you expect from your quarterback, that when you pay big money to a quarterback, you expect that guy to be able to compensate for losses like that. It would obviously hurt. Right now, the 49ers don't have somebody on the roster that can just slide in and do everything Brandon Aiyuk did. But all day, every day, Kim is right, is that there would be more pressure on Brock. And your quarterback has to be able to account for that if they are a guy that you're going to pay $50 or $60 million to per year.
Yep. But I also don't think it's fair to be like, well, if we're going to say Brock Purdy's good, then he should still be great, even losing his wide receiver one. He should still put up good numbers. He shouldn't stink. Like, yeah, you shouldn't regress to where you stink. But like quarterbacks, when they lose their wide receiver one, whether due to injuries or for the season, they typically take a step back. I mean, they don't do the same thing. We saw Aaron Rodgers when he lost Devontae Adams, a completely different quarterback. Patrick Mahomes had to change his entire game when he lost Tyreek Hill. Instead of all those deep passes, there were a lot of short passes. He gets so many yards after catch, and no one brings that up because Mahomes does make insanely good plays and he does carry that team. But so many of his passes are very, very short. I mean, the majority of the time he's just being a game manager. And then when it comes down to it, when he needs to take over, he can. That's what's amazing about Mahomes. But his game completely changed without Tyreek Hill. Like, these guys' games change without their wide receiver ones, and you're taking away Brock Purdy's wide receiver one. You would expect his numbers and efficiency to drop a little bit. Like, that's only fair.
It's so funny too, because we're like, well, Mahomes did it and Brady did it. And it's like, yeah, those are the two greatest quarterbacks ever. I'm actually interested.
But Mahomes' stats last year, I mean, he had 27 passing touchdowns. It's not like he was killing it. That offense last year in the regular season was not good. Just plain and simple, was not good.
Yeah. And look, teams, well, when you come in your first year as a starter and you throw 50 touchdown passes, teams say, all right, no matter what, we're not going to get beat deep. So that's why Mahomes is throwing so short, because teams are going out of their way to stop him from throwing deep. So he's taking what's available. I do think it's going to be interesting to see Josh Allen without Stephon Diggs in Buffalo, because I think Josh Allen's a quarterback that a lot of people say he should be able to compensate for this. And we'll see. It's not easy to do, even though he is an amazing, great quarterback that I think gets unnecessarily hated on. I wouldn't be surprised if his numbers were down this year.
Yeah, or it could be, I think maybe his passing numbers could go down while his interceptions also go down, which could be a good thing, because he tried to fit that ball into Stephon Diggs a lot.
All day, every day says Patrick still won a Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill.
Too.
Right.
That's not the point of this. Brock Purdy and the 49ers could still win a Super Bowl without Aiyuk. We're talking about the actual numbers and, the efficiency wise. And Mahomes, like I said, had to change his game. Last year, their offense stunk. Their defense carried them into the playoffs. And then Mahomes, because he's Patrick freaking Mahomes, did come out and shine in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl. But again, we're not comparing Brock Purdy to Patrick Mahomes.
Right. That's the thing. It's like, oh, well, Patrick Mahomes did it. Okay, so if Brock doesn't, what's your big point? That he's not as good as Patrick Mahomes? Guess what? Nobody is. So, I mean, I don't quite understand what you're getting at there, Kim. But yeah, well, it's going to be more on Brock if Brandon Aiyuk leaves, and we'll find out. Hell, maybe more on Brock anyway, because even if Aiyuk stays, he could have a down year, much like the other guys that had contract disputes with the 49ers had down years. We'll have to stay and find out. But speaking of that, let's look at some season totals, Michelle, because I noticed they were up on BetUS. This show is sponsored by BetUS, so I thought maybe we could take a look at some. Some of them are not there. The Christian McCaffrey ones are not there because he's hurt right now. Now, if anyone's wondering, he's close to coming back. He's went through a, quote, extensive workout on the side yesterday at practice. I don't really know what that means, but obviously this is not something that is going to keep him out long term. He said before the game against the Titans that if it was a regular season game, he would have played. So that is very good. But of the season-long totals that you saw on BetUS, what jumped out to you?
I think they're actually being really nice to all these players. Not nice in the way they're being nice to bettors, I'll say, because all these seem very low to me. Brock Purdy's passing yards sitting at 3,900 and a half passing yards. His passing touchdown sitting at 28 and a half. I mean, just looking at the passing yards, he would have to average 230 passing yards per game to hit that 309.01 passing yards. He averaged 267 and a half passing yards per game last year. And that was with only 444 pass attempts. That can't go down. Those pass attempts are going down. If anything, they're going up. And that's even if he misses a couple games, right? Let's say we're worried about him missing a couple games. He'd still have to average 260 passing yards per game if he misses two. Again, last year he was at 267 and a half. So this even allows him to miss 2 games and still hit this over by a decent chunk. So I love that over for him in passing yards. I also love his passing touchdowns over. But what's your favorite one?
I mean, the 3,900 passing yards, he eclipsed that, and they threw less than anybody else in the league last year. So, you're telling me he can't do better than that this year? And oh, by the way, he only played 17 games. He didn't even play or 16 games, rather. He didn't even play the extra game. So he could have even had more passing yards, even though they weren't throwing the ball that much. I actually think he's going to pass more this season. One, I think the 49ers will not have as many big leads late in games as they had last year. A lot of times in the fourth quarter, the Niners were just taking their foot off the gas. They were killing teams. So I think that is going to affect it as well. So I would take the over on this one, frankly. I would take the over, and I would feel good. The fact that the money line is the same on both, I thought was interesting too. They're telling you they're getting just as much action on both sides of that, which is surprising to me because I don't know what's your argument for him throwing for less than that he's just going to be bad this year?
He would have to be incredibly bad. His efficiency would have to drop so far. And it's also with the touchdowns. It wouldn't have to be an incredibly bad season for him to get 28 passing touchdowns. I don't think that's a terrible season. But last year he had 31 passing touchdowns, again, with only 444 pass attempts, with the 49ers running back stealing 19 rushing touchdowns. I don't think that's going to happen again. That's so many rushing touchdowns for running backs to have for a team. And he still hit 31. The first season he started over his 5-game starts, he was on a 17-game pace for 37 pass touchdowns. So each of his 2 years, he was clearly going to destroy these passing touchdown mark at 28.5. I love both of these overs.
28.5 is really, that seems low to me. For him to do it last year like he did, I would take the over on that as well. You know, all the reports we're getting on Brock is that he's good, that he's taking command, that he's stepping up. He's talked about how much more comfortable he feels in the offense. You know, Kyle Juszczyk had a comment yesterday about he's not just aware of what he needs to do now. Now he knows what everybody else needs to do, and he's correcting people and calling out mistakes. So I will take the over on the passing touchdowns, 28.5 passing touchdowns. Yes, please. I hesitate to say it, because every time I do, I feel like I lose my money, but it does feel like that is easy money. So if you want to make some money on these bets, go to BetUS. There's a link in the description of the episode. They're offering 125% deposit match on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. And you need to use BetUS because they have a fast and easy withdrawal process, which, let's face it, it's not enough to win the money. You want to be able to actually get your money once you win it. They have a fast and easy withdrawal process, 24/7 personalized service, 365 days a year, the best betting variety in the business, and you can get 10% back on your net losses twice a year. So you absolutely have to go with BetUS. All right, let's take a look at some of these other ones, Michelle.
Can we talk about Deebo? Because his receiving yard line is stupid low.
Okay, so I thought that was
disrespectful.
I thought that was very crafty by them, to be honest with you. It is 750.5 is his receiving yardage total. And I don't think I would go over that, Michelle. I think I would take the under.
Why? He had 892 receiving yards last year in 15 games on 89 targets. And I expect him to be utilized more this year. Yeah. Remember, skinny Deebo, but also Aiyuk just like missing all of training camp, and who even knows what happens to him, but he might start slow. Like, you're telling me he can miss 2 games, hit 892 receiving yards, have only 89 touchdowns, 89 targets, and all of a sudden he's going to get 140 fewer receiving yards this year? No way. No way. He would have to average 44.2 receiving yards per game to hit this if he plays 17 games. Let's say he misses some games, like he does sometimes. If he plays 15 games, misses 2 games, he needs to average 50.1 receiving yards per game. He averaged 56.2 receiving yards per game last year, again, with only 89 targets.
So I put the George Kittle receiving yardage total on the screen. Kittle's at 775.5. Deebo's at 750.5. So they're telling you Kittle is above Deebo. Here's why the Deebo number scares me. 1, they may use him more as a running back. If they do, that could take away from his receive. Like, he'll still get yardage, but it may not be receiving yardage. And 2, the health. He's always hurt. And I don't know if they start using Pearsall a little more, if they start getting Jennings involved more, if Aiyuk is there and they start using Kittle more. I don't know. I think I would say
he had 802 receiving yards in his rookie season. Like, I don't see a world where he has fewer, unless he misses 5 games, like 5+ games, he's hitting the 750. I feel way more strong about Deebo hitting his than Kittle's. I still like Kittle to hit over 775. He had over 1,000 last year. I think both of these guys are being disrespected. But if you're telling me, like, I got to put a bet on one of these, it's Deebo. So easy over 750.
The Kittle one is terrifying because he'll get it all basically in like 3 games. You'll be going through, it'll be like week 11. You'll be like, George Kittle has 300 receiving yards. I think I'm going to lose this bet. And then all of a sudden he'll have like 3 games in a row with like 180 receiving yards. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm good after all. But that is like a white knuckle bet with Kittle throughout the entire season.
It's weird that you feel so confident in Kittle hitting this because over Deebo, because Deebo's health, but like Kittle gets banged up a ton too.
Yeah, but I just feel like they can use Deebo other ways to still get yardage out of him that don't count towards the bet. All of Kittle's yards are going to be receiving yards.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not worried about it whatsoever for Deebo.
Okay.
892 on 89 targets last year. Like, you think he's going to get fewer than 89 targets this year?
No, but maybe he'll get less yards per target. The injury
How many less yards per target would he need? to go from 892 to 751 on 89 targets. That would be a huge difference.
Well, when you combine that with the injury situation.
Well, he also missed 2 games last year. And
Yeah,
almost 3 full games. I mean, really, he missed 3 full games.
Yeah, he could miss a lot more. It's just with the 49ers, the only guy I feel real confident in is Christian McCaffrey, because he's the only guy that they go into every game with the game plan of getting him the ball. Like, some games are just not Deebo games where Kyle is like, this defense is vulnerable. It'll be an Aiyuk game. It'll be a Kittle game. And Deebo, sorry, like, you'll catch like 1 or 2 passes. McCaffrey is the only one where every game, Kyle's like, yep, we're just going to give him the ball a ton.
Yeah, I mean, Christian McCaffrey's a beast. I guess the only worry you'd have is, does he hit that 28-year-old cliff? Because I guess that's when running backs start to, fall down. But I think Christian McCaffrey's not like normal running backs. I'm not worried about him falling apart this year and not succeeding. I just want to say with Deebo, like, I would even felt comfortable going with this bet if it was over 850.
Ooh, wow. So you're willing to plunk down some coin of the realm, as they say.
What did 750 just disrespectful.
What did you think about this from Christian McCaffrey from a receiving yardage perspective? 500.5 receiving yards for Christian McCaffrey. That's
high.
Yeah, I thought that was high too. I was really like, I don't know about that one.
That one seems a little too high for me. I'm going to stay away from that.
Especially
like if Aiyuk is back. I mean, I guess if Ayuk's not back, that makes sense. Right. But if Aiyuk is back, Pearsall's playing he should be getting on the field as a first-round pick. I don't think you should be using McCaffrey that much as a receiver. He's still going to be heavily involved, but he shouldn't be like leading running backs in receptions.
564 was the number McCaffrey hit last year. I don't know.
What is it right there?
500.5. So I wouldn't do it.
No, I wouldn't either.
There are plenty of bets that you can make on BetUS. The Kittle McCaffrey receiving total is not one of them. Speaking of Deebo and Kittle, their touchdown number is the same. Receiving touchdown number, 5.5 touchdowns. If you had to pick one guy to get 6 touchdowns this year, would you pick Deebo or would you pick Kittle?
Deebo for sure. Because I know that Kittle's done it each of the last 3 years, but last year he had 6. 3 of them came in one game. I feel much stronger that Kittle or Deebo will get in the end zone. He had 7 last year, 6 in 2021. Like, if I had to bet on one of these guys to get in 6 times, it's going to be Deebo. Now, if I had to bet one of these guys to get in 10 times, it would go to the Kittle side, since we've seen him do it before in his career. And I don't think we're ever going to see Deebo do that as a receiver. But the 6 mark, I definitely feel better with Deebo about. Sorry.
Deebo has only had 6 or more twice in his career. He did it in 2021, 6 receiving touchdowns. Last year, he had 7 receiving touchdowns. Here's the part with Deebo that's a little scary. He's not going to get those touchdowns in the red zone. Deebo's touchdowns come from big plays, catch and run plays where he just breaks it. Now, he's so good that he's able to do it consistently, but like most people score their touchdowns, 10 yards and in. And that's really not Deebo's game. That's really
Kittle though too, which is really weird for a tight end. Like, he also has to score from far out.
McCaffrey had more red zone touches than Kittle, Deebo, and Aiyuk combined last year. That's the other thing. When they get in there, it's 23, 23, 23, and the other guys be damned.
As it should be, because he's so good at it.
I know. It's comical. Like, I was talking with Levin yesterday. He's like, well, if Ayuk's not there, I'm like, they still have 3 all-pros. All-pros. Deebo, Kittle, and McCaffrey. Even without Aiyuk. It's an obscene offense right now.
It is. And that's not even counting Trent Williams, also an all-pro.
Right. I mean, yeah, but he's obviously not a skill player, so I was sort of leaving him.
What about Kyle? Kyle Juszczyk, is he an all-pro?
I guess.
Your favorite fullback?
Oh, God. Off the field more than he's on the field. Part-time player, Kyle Juszczyk. Yeah, he's great. I didn't look at this last night. I'm just looking at it now. Brock's interception total is 9.5. I think I would take the over.
Yeah, if he's going to pass more, he'll probably have 10. And I think that's okay. Like, I think people will freak out, but I think 10 is okay. You wouldn't want him to have more than that. But if he throws 32 passing touchdowns, 10 interceptions, I think that's a really good season for him.
He had 11 last year, 31 touchdowns, 11 picks. Again, I always say this with interceptions. If he has 15 picks, it's fine if he's throwing 40 touchdowns. If he's not throwing 40 touchdowns, that's way too high. I just feel like, look, we all know there were some interceptions he threw that got dropped last year, plain and simple. And I know that happens every year, and I know that happens for every quarterback. But chances are some of those will probably be caught this year. I just think 10 or 11 seems right around where he'll be. I mean, think about that. You throw 11 touchdowns. That means there's still a lot of games where you don't throw any.
11 interceptions, yeah.
Or 11 interceptions. So I don't think that Brock has an interception problem. I think people will try and paint it that way. If he comes out, let's say week 1, right, against the Jets, and he throws like 1 touchdown and 2 picks, people are going to go, oh, Brock Purdy, he threw a lot of training camp interceptions. Remember that game against the Ravens where he threw 4 interceptions? Like, they'll act like he has a interception problem. He actually doesn't.
No, he does not have an interception problem. That's not something I'm worried about with him. Guys just throw interceptions. That's okay. The guys who don't, they play scared. I don't want Brock Purdy to play scared. Like the guys who are so safe with the ball, they're just playing scared. You don't want that. I will say on the defensive side of the ball, I found one thing very, very interesting that BetUS had Leonard Floyd at 9.5 sacks, which means they think Vegas feels strongly, right, that Leonard Floyd is going to have a pretty big impact on this defense. 9.5 sacks is a high sack total for a guy like Leonard Floyd when it comes to like a betting line. Yes, he's been doing it, right? In 2020 at 10.5, 2021 9.5, 2022 9, and then 2023 10.5. But he's changing teams now, and they're saying with Nick Bosa, he's going to still put up 9.5 sacks. I love that line for him, but I'm also taking the under because that's very high.
But you shouldn't. That's what I mean. This is not like the normal 49ers pass rusher where you get the guy and you hope that all of a sudden he starts producing at a level that he has never produced at in his career. Leonard Floyd has been a 9 to 10 sack guy for the past 4 years.
But when you're a 9 to 10 sack guy, it's hard to bet over a 9.5. Like maybe I don't feel comfortable taking the under either. This might be a bet I just stay away from, but I'm not like going into this feeling really good about a season long bet too, right? Like you have to wait a while to get your money back, but a 9.5 sacks when he's always right around that, I'm not betting the over on that.
What about Bosa's at 12.5 sacks?
Smash. See, that's the one I was going to bring up that I love. Like I know he only had 10.5 last year, but it was a slow start for him because the 49ers like to play the stupid game where they take forever to pay their stupid guys. So he started slow, only had 3 sacks from weeks 1 through 8, but after the week 9 bye, he was on pace for 14 sacks on a full season. So would have got 1.5 sacks over what he needed. He had 15.5 sacks in 2021. 18.5 sacks, led the league in 2022. Now he has help from Leonard Floyd to open things up. Smashed his 12.5 sacks for Bosa.
And I think, unlike previous years, I think this secondary might be in a position to actually help Nick Bosa get some sacks. I think the secondary is going to be good and maybe can give them some gasp coverage sacks, if you can imagine that, which I feel like a lot of 49ers linemen have not really had the benefit of doing. Man, that does seem a bit low. 12.5 sacks.
And by the way, they have TJ Watt at 13.5 sacks.
Oh my God. Smash that over.
Yes.
Smash that over. 13.5. I might have to do a little parlay.
Yeah.
What if I do a TJ Watt, Nick Bosa, Leonard Floyd parlay?
Leonard Floyd could ruin that though. I wouldn't put Leonard Floyd in it. That's risky. You can do a Brock Purdy, Nick Bosa, TJ Watt.
Brock Purdy yards or touch.
Yards. I think yards.
Yards.
That seems so much safer.
Interesting. Leonardo Cruz says, I love your show. Thank you, Leonardo. I appreciate that. I did not look at the sack total. I should. I always look at the sack totals. You know me. I'm always betting the Nick Bosa over 0.5 sacks every single week when we do our picks. That is, if Bosa gets 12.5 and Leonard Floyd gets 9.5 and Javon Hargrave can get like 8, that'd be pretty impressive from the 49ers D-line. I would take that right now.
Absolutely. I mean, just having someone else besides Nick Bosa as an edge, being able to get more than 5 sacks would be huge, right?
Right.
So that's all we need. Like we just need someone to step up outside of Nick Bosa, and I think Leonard Floyd will give that to you. But I just I can't bet the over of 9.5 sacks for Floyd because it's just too risky. But Nick Bosa, baby, 12.5 sacks. That's still nearly 5 games he can go without any sack. And that means that he's not getting 2 sacks in any games, right? That would just be 1 sack, 1 sack.
Yeah.
Like, that seems so easy. Like, Nick Bosa, I think he's going to come back on a tear this year. I think he's going to have a great year.
Aaron Rodriguez, stop getting me excited for this season already, guys. Yeah, like we should. Like, we're so bogged down by all this stupid contract talk. We should. It's very possible that, like, Nick Bosa, like you said, just absolutely wrecks people because maybe we're sleeping on him a little after the down year he had. I mean, he had double-digit sacks last year. And we're like, oh, it was a down year. Like, what if we get 18.5 sack Nick Bosa this year? My God. With the rest of the people on that defense, with an actual legitimate pass rushing threat like Leonard Floyd on the other side. Like, I have been saying this. I think there's a chance this defense is really good this year.
I'm very excited for Nick Bosa this season. I think he's going to look like the player he was in 2021 or in 2022. And maybe not the 18.5 sacks. Like, that's a hard thing to do. But I see him at least with 15 sacks. I think he's going to be a dominant force this year.
The fact that he had 15.5 sacks the year after his knee was completely shredded, like, that is unbelievable. And he doesn't get enough credit for that. How he was not the defensive or the comeback player of the year, I will never freaking understand. I do not give a crap what Joe Burrow did. Like, no, Joe Burrow is not a scrambler. Who cares that he came back from a knee injury? Nick Bosa was 1,000 times more impressive. But yeah, you're right. We could get vintage Nick Bosa, 15, 16 sack Nick Bosa. Yes, please. That would be such a huge, huge lift for this defense. Plus, you've got Mooney Ward and Deommodore Lenoir as your corners. Fred Warner obviously is going to be there. Hopefully, Dre Greenlaw can come back at some point, and D. Winters can kind of just keep him afloat until then. He's been sort of up and down. I don't know how much of the preseason game you watched. He flashed a couple times, but he had a couple of really bad plays too. I'm interested to see. By the way, Kyle said starters are going to play on Sunday, at least a little bit.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Now, Brock, be safe. Don't be stupid. Right. Don't hold on to the ball. Don't take any big hits. But I would love to see the offense move down the field easily, methodically. Like, I feel like Mahomes does play. We always bring that up, right? He plays in the preseason. That offense looks on point because it's preseason and defenses are not showing everything. Like, these should be easy. This is your starters. You should be going down, calling easy plays for everyone, just getting everyone in the groove, like just getting everybody in rhythm. That's all this should be about. Don't show anything crazy. Like, you don't want to show any good plays. And just move the ball, and it should be an easy touchdown and move on, right? And then as soon as they get in once, maybe you put them out there one more time and then take them out. But this offense, I love that they're going to get in there and get some reps together.
By the way, I saw this. Sean McVay, did you see this? Sean McVay is not going to coach the Rams in the second preseason game. He's going to let somebody else do it. And instead, he's going to go up to the broadcast booth. So Sean McVay is like, this preseason game is so worthless that not only am I not going to be calling plays, I'm not even going to be coaching. I'm going up to the broadcast booth. And I just thought it was funny because you really see the difference between Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay. I'm convinced that as soon as Matthew Stafford is done playing, Sean McVay will be done coaching. I really do think that. He's already talked openly about retirement. He's got the broadcast opportunities as soon as he wants it. Like, he is not a football lifer. Kyle Shanahan is a football lifer. Kyle Shanahan will be coaching into his 60s and maybe his 70s. And I just think it's hilarious that McVay is like already setting up his kind of second career. So when he steps aside coaching, he's doing something to boost his second career. Kyle doesn't call the plays, but he's still on the sideline. No interest in being in the broadcast booth whatsoever.
You have to be a special kind of person to be a coach for, 30, even 20 years, 20, 30 years. Like, you have to be a special kind of human that this is what you want your life to be about, right? Your life is not about your family, your friends. It's not about the outside world. It is all about football. And if that's what you want it to be, like, you love that for him. But if Sean McVay is like, I can go make more money in the booth. My life is going to be a lot easier, a lot less stressful. I'm not going to age nearly as fast. I get to hang out with my family way more. And doesn't he have like a super hot wife? He wants to hang out with his family more. Like, I love that for him. And it's like, yeah, maybe at this point with Matthew Stafford still there, you say, we still have a shot, but why would you restart over, right? With another, like, if you want out, that would be the perfect time. So I love that for both guys. I love it for Sean McVay to get out, and I love it for Kyle Shanahan. If this is his passion, go for that.
Kyle is his father, like, he saw it with his dad, right? Like, it's all
Kyle
he knows.
Shanahan has aged 1,000 years since becoming a head coach.
Look, it's been stressful, Michelle. Okay, we've had a lot of stress.
Being a head coach in the NFL is not good for your health.
No, definitely not. It ages you like a president. One last thing before we go. I just saw this, and I always like to get your opinion on stuff like this, Michelle. Did you see that Nicolas Cage is going to be John Madden? Apparently,
that's such a bad hire.
Like, what kind of a cast is that? Have people not seen John Madden? I mean, maybe Nicolas Cage can do it, but I just feel like I'm going to watch that movie the whole time being like, why is Nicolas Cage doing it?
With John Madden being such a famous person, I think they should have gone with someone that wasn't super famous, right? An actor that's not extremely well known, because that's all you're going to see is Nicolas Cage playing John Madden. Like, that's all you're going to focus on. Instead of like the hit John Madden story, they should have picked a guy that's not as well known and older. I get, is he playing his younger version? Like, I guess he's not young either, Nicolas Cage, but like,
right.
What version are we playing here, John Madden? I don't get it. They don't look alike. They don't act alike. They don't sound alike. I don't get this casting whatsoever. It's odd.
There is no version of John Madden where you're like, Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's John Madden as a teenager, John Madden as a head coach in his 30s, or John Madden as a broadcaster when he was older. It's just so weird. I don't know. Maybe it'll be great. I hope it's great, because I'd love to watch a cool movie about John Madden. I think he's got one of the most fascinating football careers of anybody. But when I saw that, I was like, somebody's got to explain this to me.
It's so odd. I probably wasn't going to go watch it anyways, but now I definitely won't. I don't know. Nicolas Cage bothers me.
He's so like volatile. I just feel like you never know. He's going to just freak out all of a sudden.
Yeah, he does weird things. He's like he's a big person, you know?
Big personality.
Yeah.
Mega star at this point too. I agree. It should have gone to a lesser known. Doesn't have to be totally unknown, but definitely a lesser known actor. Anyway, that was my weird. Let me throw this random thing at Michelle and see what she says about it before we end the show.
I actually just saw that report. I don't know. Did they just announce it like last night or whatever? Because I feel like it just
yesterday at some point it came out.
Very odd. Very, very odd.
So anyway, all right, Michelle, what do you got going on tonight?
Going to go work out at 4:30, and then I have a date night with my wife. We're
nice.
Going to a restaurant on the water. Very excited.
Ooh, fancy. Very nice. I had a date night with my wife earlier this week. Kids went to grandma. We went right out to eat. It was fantastic. That's all I do with my money is food. Yep. I eat all of it. I regret.
We spend all of our money at restaurants. It's ridiculous.
I regret nothing.
No.
Like, oh, you could buy this. Nope. I'll just go to a fancy restaurant, eat it and drink it. I don't know. It's fine with me. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. Make sure you join us for the instant reaction show after the game. Levin's actually going to get off his couch and he'll join me for the instant reaction show on Sunday after the Saints game. I'm sure we will have plenty to talk about. So that's why you got to like and subscribe. Click the bell so you know when we go live, which is every single weekday. We're live after every single game. You don't want to miss an episode, people. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you to BetUS who sponsored this show. Please gamble responsibly.